Breaking news, Jamaica. The people them are saying that the Jamaica for Justice paid the people, paid the crowd that we saw yesterday in protest of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and the crime statistic where the crime is decreasing dramatically. So the Jamaica for Justice paid those persons to stage a protest against the police, the constabulary force. And I mean, saying that them say them have video of these persons being paid. Watch this.
I want you to look at it, and then we'll ask a question together. I will hope nobody no vex. Okay? Here we go. So we're listening on radio. I may have to do a bit of narration for those listening on radio. So this is what you're seeing: a JFJ wrapped vehicle, clear the mark Jamaicans for Justice, and people huddling at the side of the vehicle. There's someone sitting in there with a clipboard as if ticking off names. And I am being told by this journalist of vast experience, a man who was seen in this thing when I was a sapling with breast milk still on my mouth. He was in this thing. And what he says is that people were signing a register to collect money. Now, I say that, all right, it could be that it was a lunch stipend. It could be to defray traveling expenses. It could be for various things. I'm not making any conclusion. But I would ask JFJ to explain if the support they got, the 130 that they spoke about in their press release, and the organization that we saw, if this was organic, or if this was, an inducement given to people to come and support the cause, to make the cause seem to have more muscle than it actually does. These are just questions. Yeah, I'm not making any assertion. If I was making any assertion, I would treat the material differently. But there's a gentleman now who will appear in the shot. You can see him on the left corner, fellow. He was pleasant for the most part, telling the reporter that he couldn't film. So the man said, "Brethren, we're in a public place. You're telling me that I can't film in a public place? Nonsense." And this guy was trying to explain to him that no. So the question was asked.
This is sensitive.
Listen to this.
Stuff that's happening with sensitive information.
What is that? What does that mean? What is sensitive?
I don't understand what is sensitive.
I'll be collecting money. I don't have lunch money. I welfare money.
Right. So he would have asked, the reporter would have asked, what are they collecting monies for?
Support us with transportation costs. And this might be sensitive. So please do not.
So yeah.
Basically, the gentleman is explaining that this is to defray transportation costs and some other things associated with the process. Again, the microphone choose a time. King, these frustrations very well, eh? Choose a time, Tana, to be dodgy. So we're not hearing the full exchange, but he told me exactly what happened last night when he contacted me. Yeah? And so again, people gathered and they are collecting. He says he saw the cash from the person in the vehicle going to the persons at the vehicle. So I'm just asking JFJ, they can answer. Honorable people. Yeah, people we respect. The crowd and the support. What was happening in the bus? Is it as the reporter is telling me? And no, that reporter doesn't work here. As I said, works external. There's a lot of work right across the spectrum. Sports, hard news, parliament, everywhere. Very experienced gentleman. And he, based on my experience with him, he doesn't tell tall tales when it comes to his work. And then he was most perturbed because he says, "George, the man got rough with me at one point." And I said, "Well, clearly he doesn't know who you are because he wouldn't have done that otherwise." And he said, "Well, clearly he didn't." So I'm just asking JFJ, did you pull an organic crowd? Did you induce the crowd, or were you just defraying transportation, lunch, and so forth, inconvenience, expense? Like we know, because it would be good, I think.
You see, Jamaica, it seemed as if money was collected. I don't know the reason why it was collected, and probably the Jamaica for Justice need to answer to that, but all we can say, it seemed as if some money was dispensed to the persons who came up and staged a protest against the police, the Jamaica Constabulary Force. You know, and the thing is, Jamaica, the number one reason why they're saying that they're protesting is that the police need to wear body cam. And keep on saying again, a part of the modernization of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, well, the security force overall, is the implementation of body cam. The thing is, it is already inducted in the whole security force. It's just that it's not widespread at the moment, but the thing is, they are giving the impression that, you know, there's no body cam. Police are not wearing body cam. That's a lie. It's just that it's not widespread, and that is a part of the modernization effort to get it across. So it's just take efforts, it just take time, resources. Because remember, in Jamaica, we have to use certain resources in relation to tackle crime itself, like getting the proper equipment, the vehicles, the weaponry, the protective gears of these officers who are risking their lives. I believe that those things are top priority at the moment. We do not have vast amount of resources, so the limited resources, that should be the top priority to ensure that these persons are equipped to tackle these bad boys, and then body cam can come after. That's the bottom line. And the fact is, what these persons need to know, that in relation to the Jamaica Constabulary Force, this JLP government is one of the government that spend the most on the security of this nation. You can go research it, Google it. And this is what the Prime Minister has to say to those persons who are trying to destabilize Jamaica by dividing Jamaica people them, and try to get them to hate the Jamaican Constabulary Force that should be protecting us, where relationship should be more integrated with empathy and sympathy. Watch this.
I wear full blue today to show my support for our security forces in ensuring that Jamaica is a safe place. 80% or more of murders in Jamaica are committed by gangs. We have a false notion that these gangs are an association of disenfranchised young men. Yes, there is an element of that. But the gangs that we are dealing with are more appropriately described as criminal enterprises. They are an organization of very intelligent persons who pool resources together for criminal intent. And their criminal intent is, one, to control areas and communities, to turn the persons who live in those areas and communities against the state, against the police, against all the institutions of the community. And thirdly, to control the custom and business within that space. They want to be able to sell their drugs exclusively, conduct their scamming operations exclusively, conduct their extortion exclusively. And then they take some of the profit and pretend that they are conducting welfare exercises. They will tell you, we'll help to send your children to school, but at night they call your daughter or they send your son to commit a robbery. And then eventually petty arguments happen between them, and then they send your son to go and carry out a vendetta killing. This is what is happening. I will be the first to tell you that my administration will never sit by and allow our state forces to act in a way that wantonly abuses the human rights of our citizens. That must never happen, and I want to reinforce that point and say it very loudly. That will never happen under my watch. We have worked very hard to transform the JCF, and you may see the outward transformation in its uniform, in its equipment, but you should also notice that there has been an amazing transformation in the leadership of the JCF, in the leadership and doctrine of the JCF. And I am satisfied that the men and women who are leading the JCF appreciate the importance of maintaining a high standard in protecting human rights. Inasmuch as the police would have improved in their kinetic operations and in their tactics in terms of how they engage criminals who confront them, the JCF has also internally taken action against policemen and women who have acted outside the use of force policy. And I think Jamaicans, I'm not asking you to give up the healthy skepticism, because that is important to keep institutions in check. But Jamaicans need to be practical about where we are. For the first time in a long time, our capacity is at a level where it can adequately address the criminal enterprises that have dogged us for over 40 years. And we will continue on this path to respect the human rights of citizens, but deal appropriately with those criminals who challenge us. It is in our best interest that we continue along this path. And that is why I'm saying that we are at an inflection point. An inflection point is the point at which the rate of change increases relative to the effort exerted. And that's what we're going to see happen. As the police improves its interdiction, and by the way, there is a sense which is suggesting that the police is only relying upon its kinetic operations in engaging those criminals who confront them. You would have noticed that the police has improved their investigative capabilities. Crime that have been committed, high-profile crime, within weeks, the police would have been able to interdict and discover who were the persons behind it and bring them to justice. And that is because we have invested heavily in the intelligence gathering and training of our investigators, and in fact expanded the number of investigators. Bear in mind as well that we have also increased the number of persons in the JCF.